Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, and today we're going to cover 3 new ETFs from NestYield. If that's what you're looking for, stick around. Well, I found 3 new ETFs for you to consider for your portfolio. Yes, they're brand new ETFs. You may or may not want to consider them. This is up to you, and this is not financial advice. But Brad has been now retired for 5 months, and he's looking for opportunities that are out there, and there are all kinds of new ETFs coming out for income. First of all, let's talk about how much these are in management fees. That is always important. The current fee is 0.89. They are wavering 0.06 until March 30th of 2026. Then it goes up to 0.95. That is pretty much on par for any of these ETFs that I see out there, more or less. That's what I've been seeing. The first one we're going to talk about is going to be EGGS. Yes, EGGS. Gotta love these guys. And it is NestYield Total Return Guard ETF. And it's going to deploy active management, and that's a crucial one. And it's aiming to provide monthly income with downside protection. That's correct, ladies and gentlemen. Downside protection. This has always been, oh, buy these puts. Well, you don't have to buy puts, or you don't have to do all that hedging. They do it for you. EGGS, NestYield Total Return Guard ETF. The objective is primary investment is to seek current income. Second is to seek exposure to the share price of select listed securities, while dampening the potential investment gains while also seeking a hedge against significant market downturns. Very interesting. They're saying that they could possibly get anywhere between 1 and 2% of yield per month. That's right, 1 to 2%. That's 12 to 24. That's not that bad with downside protection. And that's always the question, is how much does that downside protection cost you? So far so good. So their downside protection is about 16.6% of the overall market exposure, and they're going to be staggering these using SPX options 8 to 10% below current market level, out of the money. Provides downside protection for potential gains in the market if the market rises. The next one we're going to look at is EGGY. Yes, EGGY. This is for dynamic income from NestYield. These guys are very similar to the last one we just looked at. So EGGY is going to be NestYield Dynamic Income, and they're going to primary investment objectives to seek high level of current income. The other one was just current income. This is high level current income. And the second is seeking exposure to the underwriting shares, and it's going to be on shares that they're picking, and the fund is going to get between 1.5% and 3% per month. They're also having downside protection. So that is a 18 to 36% yield, depending on what the market can deliver. No guarantees, as always. And nothing we say here is financial advice. I'm only providing you information of 3 new funds that you probably have not heard of in the past. So one thing EGGY does totally different than the other fund is they are going to have downside protection 10 to 20% current market out of the money. So yes, 10 to 20% instead of 8 to 10. So take your poison. How much downside protection do you want? And remember, downside protection costs money. So take your pick. So the last one we're going to look at today is going to be EGGQ, and it's going to be the Visionary ETF. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, these are the 3 ETFs. This one is going to get you a yield at 0.25 to 0.5% per month. oh, wait a second here. Totally a lot less than the other. That's anywhere between 3 to 6% in income. They're actually looking for long-term growth over income. Interesting. So these funds, reading through the prospectus, and I highly recommend reading through the prospectus because I am going to give them a A+. I read through a lot of prospectus over the last few months, and I will tell you what I see them write. You can actually understand the actual funds. Because one thing I haven't mentioned is EGGQ has call spreads. So they're either going to have hold the underlying, do synthetics, do cover calls, and have puts for security on the first two, which is EGGS and EGGY, right? And EGGZ does not have any downside protection, but has call spreads options. So they can do hold the underlying, do call spreads, do out of the money calls, but in the money puts. They have a little more dynamics to them. That's why they call it dynamic. You gotta love that. Dynamic because it's more dynamic. Interesting how they named the fund. Let's look at what they did. So what they do is a quantitative analysis, and these guys are actively managed, meaning they are going to pick the underlying. Yes, they're not going to just willy-nilly to some place. They're going to quantitatively look at the market, get it down to 25, then they're going to take those 25 and narrow it down between 7 and 15. That's correct, between 7 and 15 actual stocks. And I can tell you now, looking at them, they actually have some of the actual underlying, which I like. So right now they all hold the underlying. Out of that 7 to 15, they currently have 13 stocks. So what are those 13 stocks? It is Apple, Amazon, Broadcom, Chipotle, Google, Eli Lilly, Meta, Microsoft, Netflix, Nvidia, Tesla, Taiwan Semiconductor, and Uber. Each one of these funds holds these 13 stocks, doing call spreads, or they are just doing cover calls, and they're going to get you the percentages that they're looking at. That is interesting. One thing we normally don't cover, but we're going to cover it today because you need to know this. Who's the investment advisor? It is Tidal. We've heard of them before. The sub-advisor is NestEgg Services. The sub-advisor also is EGGY Financial. Well, we know who is EGGY Financial. He writes a lot of options for a lot of different funds. When I look at these guys' profile, I can tell you that has a lot of experience in the marketplace. We know Jay from his call writing experience. They're doing a complete analysis. They're picking 25, and I want to say, after reading their prospectus, which I am going to say again, it was probably one of the better prospectus I have actually read, that it was actually complete and clear of what they were going to try to do and what their objectives were. I've read a lot of other prospectus that may or may not have been as clear as these guys. So it might be something that you want to go look at or at least have on your radar. I will personally just have these guys on my radar and we'll see how they do in a few months. No reason to rush in. I like what they picked. They got 13 stocks. They hold the underlying. They are making all the right check marks. They got one fund that's going to be 3 to 6, one fund that's going to be 12 to 24, and one that's going to be 18 to 36. So you can pick your poison because they have all three covered for you. Hopefully this brings you some value today, and hopefully you like this video. So please feel free to give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, prefer not the thumbs down, but hopefully this brings you some value. And Until next time, God bless.